This is Corey Willis with PPEI, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
I'm Adam Blattenberg from Diesel World.
This is Dan, owner of Dan's Diesel Performance.
I'm Cass from Diesel Doctor of Tennessee, and you're listening to the Diesel Podcast.
What is going on, Diesel Nation? We're excited to have you guys with us today on the #1 Diesel Truck Podcast on iTunes. Today we're going to be chatting with Justin Andres, and you've seen his truck before. He's been on the podcast as well, but he's going to talk about how UCC went with the truck that he built, and also getting ready for King of the Street Challenge, and all the things that go into being able to compete at the highest level possible with his trucks. And we're going to talk a bit about how Fleece has helped him in a bunch of different ways with not just the race trucks, but also his day-to-day business with things like lift pumps and CP3s and tons of different things that they have. So we know you guys are going to love this episode. We want to give a special shout out to Diesel World Magazine. Make sure you go to dieselworldmag.com, bookmark the page, or pick up an issue. They're in full swing covering events, product releases, tons of different things out there in diesel. All right, let's get to the podcast with Justin, talking about Cummins Performance, UCC, events, and tons of different things. Justin, welcome back to the Diesel Podcast, man. I'm excited to have you on today. And we chatted before the Ultimate Callout Challenge, and we wanted to chat with you after and talk about the truck and then jump into some other things that I know, like this time of year, people are using their trucks to go on vacation, take it places, or racing. And there's so many questions that they have, and you've been around the diesel performance and maintenance scene and everything for such a long time. I'm really excited to have you on and hit you with some questions.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of unanswered things that people have with seeing a new truck, and as far as parts go and everything like that. So
the cool thing about doing podcasts before Ultimate Callout Challenge is we're kind of able to speculate a little bit or see, hey, how do we think the truck's going to perform, or what are some things that you're, like the unknowns, but now that it's, been over a month or so, what are some thoughts when you look back on that experience and the truck itself that, it was like, man, the truck did exactly what I thought, or hey, this was something out of left field. I didn't expect this, and it happened, and I had to adapt to it.
yeah, there's a lot of people that didn't. We've always been street truck, want a street truck. I don't want a race truck. It's always been that way. So when this idea kind of came to mind, me and Chase actually kind of made the arrangement in the deal way back at PRI in December. So it's not that it was a spur of the moment, like, hey, it's April, let's do something crazy. We had this idea in the back of our mind, like I said, and it just slowly kind of kept developing, into what the truck was, other than didn't have a whole lot of testing on it. Just a new platform, big badass engine, a lot of air, so forth. So something like that just takes a lot more seat time than I obviously had in it going into UCC, which the truck did pretty well for the most part in the 3 events to give us a 7th place finish. But there's definitely a lot more improvements with it. I've been kind of slow after UCC here with getting a few things organized and sorted out through it, but we will be behind the seat in it shortly to get some things ironed out before we throw all my time towards the red truck for King Streets.
Would you say that the hardest part in taking it from a street truck to it's going to go up against dozens of North America's fastest, baddest diesel trucks is really just that seat time and experience after, of course, getting the truck all together and parts and everything, and just the experience in driving it?
Yeah, there's, like I said, at any point, you throw horsepower behind something, it takes a driver to be able to know how to use that power, how to launch it at the track. Sled pull is a huge thing, which I kind of stepped on my foot a little bit at UCC with that. So there's definitely a lot of improvement with more seat time and having knowledge with the setup, how it's going to respond, how quick the charges are going to come up. If you got to pedal it for some reason, anything like that. We were unfamiliar with the ratchet shifter and how we had the tuning programming of it set for the drag race mode, and when we went into the sled pull, I don't know if we had some issues there upshifted on us and I didn't want it to, and we got it pulled back and so forth. So there's just a lot of things that you really got to learn about your truck for it to do its full potential.
One of the stories and the things that is so cool about being able to chat with competitors like yourself is to, if we go to UCC or we go to King of the Street Challenge or any of the events out there, I'm sitting in the stands or I'm watching it on a live feed. I just see the truck and I see it make a pass or it's pulling down the track or something, but I don't know everything that goes into it. And what's cool about a podcast is being able to sit down with you and say, way more went into this truck than just that pass you're making. And you had mentioned Chase Fleece, and I wanted to ask you, what kind of help and insights do Braden and Chase give you that is, I imagine it's invaluable with all the racing they've done and how long they've been around, but specifically with your truck, like how have they helped you get it to, a level that you're happy to compete with and where you want to take your Cummins?
Yeah, so I can't give enough thanks to Chase for all the support. It could be 9, 10 o'clock Central Time, which is, an hour later their time, and, he's willing to talk and or shoot a text. If I shoot him a picture of something like, hey, how do you think this will work? Or, what's your thoughts on this? Should I improve on this? Should I change this angle? Put a bracket here or there. He helped me a fair amount with some of the sled pull stuff that we set up roughly a week before UCC. I'd send a picture and I'd say, what do you think, option 1 or 2, or do you have anything better? And he was always there to help walk me through it if there was something that I didn't understand or have a better opinion with the experience that they've had and all the racing and sled pulling stuff that they've done and trucks that they've built for very competitive 3.0 trucks and other classes. So that definitely helps make the truck perform even better past my personal knowledge that we've gained over the years.
And I bet that helps as well when you have, say, a customer call you, too. And, they might not want to be building a UCC truck. That might be something they want to go to test and tunes or maybe do, a few pulls a year. Or maybe they don't even do that. Maybe they just want to tow the trailer and have lower temps or do something different. It's like you've seen the full array and all the different parts of what goes into this platform that we all love. And that experience is... it's invaluable. It's priceless in a way, because if I called you up and said, hey, I got this truck, this is what I want to do with it. Well, you've done it yourself and you've had insights from some of the best in the industry on how to do it.
Yeah, there's been times, we've set up certain trucks with a setup that should work, and they're, they call later, hey, I'm towing 15,000 pounds, and not that we're seeing high EGTs, like unsafe by any means, but like cruising flat ground, here's our parameters and this is what the truck is doing. If I don't have personal experience with that setup, I've asked Chase before, like, hey, I know you've ran something similar to this on a 5.9 or a 6.7, depending what truck it is. Are these parameters normal? Do we need more fuel? Do we need less fuel? Are the injectors too big? Between either testing it himself on one of his older trucks or something that they've set up in the shop for a customer and have experience with, he's been able to give me feedback so that I can give either my customer feedback or adjust a customer's future build accordingly to what they're wanting to do with the truck.
That's one of the really cool things about like the Fleece product lineup, and I've been thinking about it too, is like it's not like they just thought, hey, we can make this part, let's just make it and throw it out there and see what happens. Like, every part they make is because they have found they needed it at a certain point, and it might not have been for all out racing. Like, I know the coolant bypass kit is one of the most popular upgrades that are out there, or like the distribution blocks, things like that just, they're so simple and efficient and smart. It's like anyone who's doing, if you're working on the engine, why not do a Fleece distribution block? Why not do a coolant bypass? Like, there's just upside to it. And I wanted to ask you, when guys are calling you or they're coming into the shop, are those things like, I'm sure there's probably, the guy who wants 550 horsepower tows a trailer, what, of course it's going to vary a little bit based on like the year of the truck, but there's just like a handful of things you definitely want to do, like, whether it's for reliability, for clean install, for different things like that. What kind of, upgrades and things are you guys seeing, like this time of year, where for that towing crowd, that daily driving crowd, where they need to do these upgrades? It's going to save them money in the long run, but also they're going to be happier with it, daily driving it right now.
Yeah, so we're seeing my red truck, which a lot of people know me for. We built that, I shouldn't say from the ground up, but built it from, back in the 400-some horse. And we drove it handful of years at 800-900 horsepower with compounds, towing, raced it, sled pulled it, towed a snowmobile trailer to Montana, etc. Basically everything that anybody would ever need out of a truck. One of the biggest upgrades that I noticed towing wise was when I put a Fleece coolant bypass on. When you would get up to speed, so you got on the off ramp and got going up to speed, you didn't see a 205, 210 coolant spike or anything like that, because you had more water running through the block and evenly throughout the cylinders. You didn't get heat soaked near as bad, as well as having a second thermostat in case your primary towards the front of the engine would ever fail. Just adds another security. We've had just a personal experience with a friend of mine. They were going snowmobiling one winter, and his thermostat had stuck on his truck, basically creating it to virtually almost overheat. They ended up coming back and swapping trucks out, thinking that, hey, maybe it's a blown head gasket or anything of that such, and came back and thermostat freed up, and basically, I don't even know if he's changed it since. He probably has, but something like that, if you had a secondary thermostat like the Fleece kit does, you could potentially eliminate that type of failure on the road, whether you're close to home or you're 1,500 miles from home. So it adds quite a bit of security, I feel. Another item that is really popular is the distribution block for the fuel, return and supply. I know a lot of people are going away from twin CP3 kits, which used to be that, hey, you needed this to make power. 5 years ago, there was no such thing as a 12. There probably was, but it was in testing, and, not everybody and their grandma had one. So everybody had twin CP3 kits, makeshift T-fittings and certain things that the manufacturer should have supplied with the kit to make the install cleaner, make it neater. They weren't there, so, you run to the hardware store and stuff like that to get the returns to line up, and, then you throw into the mix putting a ZZ Fab on or any sort of aftermarket side draft that got in the way of the factory return lines off the CP3 pumps and going through the OEM filter location. Even if you had a delete, you still ran into so many problems with plumbing a twin CP3 kit, and that is where the distribution block really came into play, cleaning everything up. You can put a straight 45, 90, 60 degree, AN push-a-lock fitting on, get the correct angle at everything, nice T-fittings, and so forth, just to clean it up. There's so many people that have such clean-looking rigs on the outside, and if you have no way to clean up under the hood, once you pop the hood, it pretty much kind of just, it ruins the build, not having every aspect of the truck as clean as the outside appearance.
What's so cool about those two products as well is I've got tons of friends that run them, whether they did an engine build or they're just, doing something on the weekend, but you can use it whether you have a UCC caliber truck or whether you're just running a 60 horse tune and you're towing a trailer and you're not out there at the drag strip or sled pulling. And the twin CP3 thing, I was thinking about it because I remember that was the thing. If you wanted big power, that's what you had to run. And the technology and the precision and everything that's happened over the last few years is there's modified CP3s that can make the power, and they're reliable. But also, kind of transitioning from that is there's a huge push, I think, across all of motorsports, but say diesel, into these newer trucks and being able to make more than stock power with emissions intact. And some of the things that the manufacturers are able to do with say a twin CP3 kit, they're not going away, but it doesn't mean just because you have a new an LML Duramax or 6.7 Cummins or something like that, or the Power Stroke, that you still you want a clean install still. You want the engine bay to be as clean and as simple and efficient and everything as possible, because it's your truck. It's your baby, it's your passion, it's what you invested money in. And I think that distribution block, it's still going to be around. It still has a place out there, especially moving forward with the direction that these new trucks are going, where they make really great power. They have a ton of refinement, but everyone wants to get a little bit more. So there's always going to be modifications or upgrades to them, but done within a different context, where you may not be able to run a 14 millimeter stroker pump on a newer truck and have the emissions intact. But the twin CP3 kits can do that through the testing and approvals that they get, and there's these other accessories that come along with it that can still grow with diesel performance.
Yeah, that's just it. There's always going to be people that want a FASS or an air dog or Fleece's in-tank pump kit, but they want to run say a half-inch line and a auxiliary fuel filter base. The Fleece distribution block would make it so much easier to, plumb in say a half-inch line or -8, throw it right into the fitting on the block, and then however you want to go from there to your single or twin CP3 kit, whether it's a stock truck that somebody just wants better filtration, them type of things are still going to be out there no matter what horsepower level you're at, which is still, like you say, it's going to, keep selling the product wherever the future of the trucks evolve to.
There was another part I wanted to ask you about, and we got a question not long ago on Instagram about it. We had done a podcast with Alligator Performance about the live builds at UCC, and we had talked about the Fleece and tank lift pump. And in that episode, they're like, hey, we love this kit. Like, it installs so simple. The warranty's fantastic on it. It's totally different than everything else that had been around with, mounting, an external pump and the filters and everything. And the guy asked, he's like, okay, I want to hear from a shop owner. Do these things really install as easy as you guys talked about on that episode? And I wanted to ask you, do they install it, as simple as it appears from what we see, on the Fleece website or, magazines or, different things like that? What does it allow you to do as a business owner, giving them an upgrade and being able to do it quickly?
Yeah, they're pretty easy. Basically the biggest thing is, us as a shop, we have all the tooling, to be able to drop the tank down pretty easy. The next guy down the road or, a farmer or any other customer, may not have them tools. But at the same note, not everybody wants to put a sump in their tank.
Yeah.
If you don't want to put a sump in your tank, but you want an aftermarket lift pump, say even smaller horsepower level, you don't need a big, huge 220, 260, 290 gallon. The Fleece kit can take care of it, as well as if you don't want a sump, you're dropping the tank anyways to do your draw straw. And at that point, you got your quarter tank problems and or less or more, depending on how your tape measure measures. The other thing about the lift pump is, up here in North Dakota, where it gets cold in the wintertime, I think we had 27 days this past winter that it didn't get above, I think it was like 15 or 20 degrees. At that point, field gelling becomes a big issue. With the air dog and the lift, and the FAS, with the external filters, we do see and hear of a fair amount of gelling issues, with these types of temperatures, where the Fleece kit can utilize and typically utilizes the OEM filters and their location. Typically on the Cummins stuff, it's under the hood, where there's at least a little bit of engine heat, as well as a heated, return over element in the filter housing. So that definitely helps with some of the problems that we see in colder climates and temperatures, as well as with a faster and air dog hanging alongside the frame rail, or if you tuck it inside the frame rail, or wherever you want to try and hide it. There's times you got 2, 3, 4 foot snow drifts, that you're plowing through and so forth, and just ice pack everything, the slush, the salt, the corrosion. There's just so many potential issues, with just hanging something out there unprotected, where the in-tank pump, basically, you can utilize all the OEM lines. You don't really hear of a stock truck or a modified truck having a issue with typically the lines or the connector at the lift pump, whether it's weather tight or so forth. Just seems like a well-rounded off product that definitely sparks a lot of interest for those people that need a little more than the OEM, but don't need a 200 plus gallon per hour pump to make 1,000 plus horse, 1,200 horse.
Yeah, that's kind of the sweet spot of it, and that's where a lot of the questions and things that we get on it are like, I'm not building a race truck, but I need something more, and I really like the idea of utilizing the factory, heating elements and plumbing and everything, and keeping the install time down so it's not as hard as it could be. So I know there's been a lot of traction out there, a lot of people have been interested in it. But I wanted to ask you, your red truck, you are known for it. I know when we did our last episode, it got a lot of views, a lot of downloads, and people like it, and I know they're going to want to see the things that you're doing with it, moving forward, throughout the year with King of Street Challenge and probably other things. Where's the best place for them to find you on social media, or if they have questions, they want to ask you about a setup on the truck or something else? How can our listeners get in contact with you?
So the best way to get a hold of us, contact us, and or even follow us is Facebook. I haven't honestly been too interested in so forth with Instagram. I mean, we have an account. The wife will post a few things here and there. We'll get tags about some certain stuff, UCC and Fleece and, some of the other guys and so forth. But I personally don't post a whole lot on there. We do have a personal business page, JA Diesel Performance. I don't post a lot on there either. My personal page is typically where a lot of the stuff gets done. But with that note as well, being able to get out this summer now, I would like to help my customers out, my followers, see videos and keep up with the builds. So I will do a better job at posting some stuff, on the business website, as well as trying to get familiar with Instagram and know how to use it more, because I know there's so many people that use it. That's a way of communication. I shouldn't say communication, but just a way to keep in touch with somebody or know what they're doing without being snoopy or nosy. So that's pretty much where the majority of it is.
Yeah, man, it's kind of funny when you're talking about Facebook and Instagram. It's like there's a lot of people that like, they like Facebook, like we're used to it, and then Instagram is almost like this totally different thing where it's like you can just quickly visually see things and get through the information quicker. But depending on the different demographics of who the diesel enthusiast is, they might lean one way or the other, and it's so cool to be able to just go on an Instagram page or Facebook, and I use both, and just be able to see them like, oh, that's a cool build, or oh wow, I didn't know that this person did this with their truck, and all those things. It's a great way for us all to kind of keep in touch, see what's going on, and when new things happen. It's almost instant that we all know as quick as we can post, we see it out there. But yeah, we're definitely looking forward to seeing your truck out there and performing, and like I said, the episode we did before, there was a ton of people that downloaded it, and they just love what you've done with it. They love how it looks, the setup, the engine, the air, the fuel, all those things. So we wish you the best of luck the rest of the year, and look forward to seeing what you do with it and heading into 2020 as well.
Yeah, definitely excited to be out there. Pretty stressful trying to get two trucks ready to perform and or perform. But like I've told multiple people, and I'm sure many people know, like my heart is in the red truck with the street stuff. So here real shortly, once we get a new power plant built for it, something that we think we could take to King of the Streets and try and defend the title. Once we start stuffing that in the truck, like that is where my time will be devoted to. And unfortunately, the silver UCC truck will probably end up sitting in the corner of the shop for probably the rest of the year after we get that going. But hopefully be able to get it out and get some things dialed out. So.
Right on, Diesel. We appreciate your time today and chatting with us. And like I said, we look forward to seeing what you do the rest of the year.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't forget, Diesel fans, make sure and head on over to fleeceperformance.com. Check out things that they have for your truck, whether it's for towing, daily driving, street performance, or racing. And go to dieselworldmag.com, bookmark the page, pick up an issue in a store, check out all that's going on in diesel. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.